The remaining guys that now are free agents for the Saints, there is Andres Pete, Mike Thomas, Jameis Winston is with the Browns, Zach Bond is with the Eagles, Isaac Yadam's a free agent, Lonnie Johnson went to the Texans, Jonathan Abram is still a free agent, Ugo Amadi still a free agent, Malcolm Roach is with the Broncos, Lynn Bowden Jr. hit free agency. What do we think is going to happen with some of these guys? The Saints have reached pay cuts with some of their people. All this stuff with the money, obviously brought to you by Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, the money segment. What do we think happens with these guys as we go forward? Let's just go through them one by one. Let's start with Mike Thomas.
Well, he's not coming back to New
Yeah.
Orleans. The receiver market has been a little slow. Calvin Ridley was a big piece just a couple hours before we went on the air today. I think it's going to be more about fit than money with him. I'm really curious. But I think someone's going to get a bargain there. I don't think. I mean, we don't know enough about his medical. But I keep feeling like these injuries aren't automatically related to one another. And the first time that guy plays like 14, 15 games in a season, I think a team's going to get a steal if that price goes down. He's probably going to be helping a playoff contender. That's my prediction there.
I know a little bit about the medical. The knee's trending in the right direction.
Yeah.
I think he's going to take his time. I think there's an awareness that he's got to get this right. Like, I think he knows that he's got to get this right. I think if I were him, I would want to just let the dust settle on a lot of things and just kind of make sure when I'm making my decision, I'm seeing all the pieces on the chessboard, and then I'm putting my piece where I feel like it can do the most damage. And I think that's probably how he's going to play it. I don't think we see anything happen here soon. I think he's going to be very, very deliberate with how he goes about his process because, I think he knows that he was on a prove it deal last year and he couldn't, he got hurt and he couldn't prove it. And I think he knows being, after the last few years, he needs to go somewhere that's elevating him.
Yeah.
And I think every single time he stepped on the field from probably 2020 on, it was kind of like Mike had to help elevate everybody else. And I think he's at a point where it would just be smart for him to be in a spot where he's going to go somewhere and he's going to be able to be the absolute best version of whatever he is today. And I think he knows that. I think he's very, very aware of that. Jameis to the Browns, what do we think about that?
I thought it was strange from afar why the Browns wouldn't bring back Joe Flacco. I mean, the guy was comeback player of the year for them finding him off the street and him leading them to the playoffs. So I have no idea why they didn't want Flacco back. But look, I mean, it's Jameis seems excited about it. He deserves an opportunity somewhere else because he wasn't getting the opportunity here. I don't know how much opportunity he has unless Deshaun Watson is hurt. But unfortunately, the supply and demand, I mean, we knew he was probably going to have to take a number 2 job next year somewhere. But maybe if he just gets his foot in the door there, it's not over for him. I'll always continue to be interested in how his career plays out, but I think we expected a change of scenery.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like it, and I kind of low key think that it's a. I would have went to Minnesota. I think if I were him, like if I were just picking spots for Jameis, I would have been like, man, Minnesota, Justin Jefferson. I like the spot, opportunity to maybe play right away. Like I like it, but I kind of feel like this is a sneaky pick a little bit because like Deshaun misses a lot of time, and I feel like they got a good structure there. That big arm in the cold weather.
If you're the quarterback of the Browns, you can win.
Yes, you just saw Joe Flacco do it. And I think them moving on from Joe Flacco tells us about Joe Flacco, like a little bit. Like he made it go, but I think Jameis is obviously better than him. I kind of feel like this was a sneaky smart decision.
Yeah.
Like at first you're like, man, behind Deshaun.
Like Minnesota, they might draft J.J. McCarthy, and then you're like, oh, great. So I might get to start for 3 weeks, and then they're going to move on from me. But you go somewhere like Cleveland, you could do what Andy Dalton did here. I think we made that comparison. Like Andy Dalton came in and said, I'm number 2. I'm here to support the starter. But when he got his chance, he didn't give it up.
Yeah. Spend quiet around Pete. I think he's just got to find out what his market is, and he probably, comes back with an offer, and either they match it or they don't. We've seen that happen with him before. So I think that's probably just how it's going to play out again. I think he just has to find out what his market is, and I don't think it's gotten to that point yet. But him hitting free agency and them taking that dead money hit, I think is indicative of their willingness to move on from him. So I think if he comes back, I think that number's got to be really, 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 really low.
The fact that he got to free agency proves that they weren't desperate to keep him.
Yeah.
Like, because they would have gotten a nice salary cap benefit by being able to keep him. Now, just to try to explain this and not sabotage the show. I mean, he now there's 13.6 million in dead money that hits the Saints cap. We were already counting it against their cap. So when we said they got under the cap, they're still under the cap. We were already counting that. But they could have pushed that into future years. Now they have to absorb it now.